everybody, and welcome to the Maria Gonçalves podcast. I'm your host, Maria Gonçalves, and today we have a special episode with three incredible mediums, and we are going to do a Halloween special. So today we're going to talk about all those interesting questions you've always wondered about Halloween. So stay tuned and join the conversation. But first, let's begin with Keshette. Can you introduce yourself to our listeners and viewers?
Hello out there. I'm so excited to be here with you ladies and with our viewers and those listening on the podcast. My name is Keshette Burton, and I am Soul Connections with Keshette, and I am in Dallas, Texas. I am a makeup and hair artist by day. I work on TV shows such as Real Housewives of Dallas, Love is Blind, Married at First Sight, Shark Tank. When Good Morning America comes to town, I work with them. And then I'm also a medium and a psychic. And I love doing in person or Zoom. I love the healing that it brings people. I love the closure, the understanding, the peace, the love and support when I do mediumship readings. And yeah, that's who I am.
Oh, thank you. And then there is Michelle.
Oh, hi, everyone. My name's Michelle Falcone, and I'm with Come Home to Your Heart with Michelle. I am a professional psychic medium, and I also do crystal skull channeling and energy work. That's my full-time job. What else can I tell you? I'm super excited to be here. Halloween has become one of my favorite holidays, and it's a great opportunity to dig in and dispel some myths and bring a lot of love and understanding to this time of the year. So thank you so much, Maria, for putting this together. And I'm really excited to be here with Liliana and Keshette too. It's going to be fun.
It is. And thank you for saying yes to today. And then our our next medium is Liliana.
Thank you so much for inviting me, Maria. This is so exciting. I'm so grateful to be here. I'm excited to talk about this topic. Yes, my name is Liliana Biesterveld. I am a professional medium and psychic. I also do Reiki. I'm a Reiki Master as well. And yeah, this sounds like it's going to be amazing, a wonderful topic. And I think you're going to be able to get a lot of different perspectives of, what this is all about, right?
Oh, that is awesome. And where are you from, Liliana? Where are you located?
I actually live in Los Angeles. I live here in California, but I was born and raised in Mexico, in the north part of Mexico. So I've just been here for many, many years already. So that's my
Nice.
second home, or my first home really, but yes.
And then Michelle, did you say where you were from?
No, thank you for giving me the opportunity though. I'm from Cleveland, Ohio, and I do a lot of things on Zoom. I also travel all over the place. I'm in West Virginia and Michigan and Pittsburgh and all sorts of fun places, gone to Florida for this type of work. So, that's one of my passions. I love to travel and I love calling Cleveland home. So,
Oh, nice. And for those of you wondering, I'm in Hamilton, so just outside Toronto in Canada, but my background is a Portuguese. And Keshette, do you want to start us off with
Yes.
the information?
Yes, just a little history tidbit. I'm going to read it off because I couldn't remember it all. But the origins of Halloween date back about 2,000 years to the ancient Celtic festival of Samhain, which was celebrated on October 31st on the eve of their new year. The Celts believed that the dead returned to Earth that night, and so they lit bonfires and donned costumes to ward off the ghosts. Now, there is a twist to it that says during Samhain, the Celtic New Year, and Harvest Festival, people would offer food to the spirits and light bonfires. One offering was soul cakes, a sweetbread, which connected sweets with the supernatural. So I believe, if I recall, it was lighting the bonfires to ward off any negative souls or ghosts or and then they would offer the sweet cakes to offer something good to their loved ones. And then from there, the history of trick-or-treating. Going a souling, I guess is what they called it. Children would go door to door offering to pray for the souls of relatives in exchange for food, coin, and other treats. In the 19th century, Irish and Scottish immigrants brought Halloween traditions to North America. So from there, families wanted to make it more fun, more inclusive for the kids, and they started making baked goods at home. That's where you got candied apples from, or caramel popcorns, or chocolates. And since it became more widespread, candy companies started to get more involved. And so Mars bars started making candy, and candy corn. Actually, candy corn came out in the 1880s. Interesting.
Oh, I
Um,
like candy corn.
do you? I'm not a candy corn lover. How about you other ladies?
So.
When I was a kid, I loved candy corn. In fact, I'd ask my mom what she was making for dinner, and when she said she was making liver and onions, I'd walk home from school past Revco, and I'd get candy corn with my allowance money. I'd stick it in my book bag, and that's what I'd have for dinner instead.
So I'm curious of your listeners, if they can drop a comment, how many of your listeners like candy corn?
Yeah, I love all candy, to be quite honest.
I feel it's like you either love it or hate it, right?
Yeah.
Yes. So that's a little bit of the history of Halloween.
I find that so fascinating, the trick-or-treating. How about the jack-o'-lantern? Because that's part of Halloween too, eh?
Yes. Yes. Do you ladies carve out your own jack-o'-lanterns anymore?
I do.
In the past, yes.
You have in the past. I
Mhm,
haven't done one in so long.
mhm.
It's been a long
For the
time. It
pumpkin
takes a lot of patience.
seeds.
Good. The pumpkin seeds?
Yeah.
Do
I
you
have
roast
the pumpkins, but then there's this thing called that they call Devil's Night, the night before October 31st. Do you guys have it there? Like here they call it Devil's Night, or it's also known as Mischievous Night. In some places it's called Gate Night or Goosey Night, Moving Night, uh, Cabbage Night, Mystery Night, Mat Night. There's a lot of nights that it's called. But here what happens, I remember as a kid, the night before Halloween, you put your pumpkins away because kids would get mischievous and go around and smash the pumpkins or egg the cars or put toilet paper on the houses. So we had that here, like when I was growing up. So, and even my kids will be like, oh, it's Halloween Eve, put everything in. But now I don't really see it. So I don't know if they've stopped doing that. Hopefully they have stopped doing that. But I do remember that as a kid, like the night before, it was known as Devil's Night around here. So you had to like get all your decorations, not the decorations, sorry, the pumpkins, because they would disappear, they get smashed the night before. I don't
Interesting.
Can
have
I
that
say
there.
something about that?
Yeah.
I just want to say, like, for me, this is so strong feeling right now. The way that Halloween has been made to be something dastardly, like with the it just seems like it's kind of made out to be kind of evil, and it makes it really difficult, to be honest, as a medium to like sometimes have people break through that fear of connecting with spirit. And I've had people say to me like, oh no, I'm not going to come to, a seance. And I said, well, even a seance, like I'm doing a seance November 1st, which is interesting. I didn't even know that was a thing, and it's a thing. But people get nervous in my area. I don't know about how you guys are, but in my area, some people get really nervous about that. And they think, oh, you're talking with evil spirits, and that's just simply not the case. I mean, I guess anybody's available to talk to if you want to, but it really depends on what channel you're tuned into, what your medium is all about. And, what you're resonating with. I just don't have that experience. I have not run into having some evil spirit pop up in any of my events ever. Or have you guys? I mean, what do you think about that?
I'm so glad you brought that up because what society has depicted as such a scary thing with the gore and the horror and the possessions, and you're right, the seances with uh calling on the dead, and it's put such a negative connotation of what it means to connect with spirit or connect with loved ones or connect with the unseen world. So 100% I agree with you. And Liliana, what were you gonna chime in with?
Well, I was gonna say that, I'm with you, Michelle. I've never had anything negative or any negative entities, appear. Um, I do feel that, I mean, there is people that maybe specialize on looking, whether it's paranormal or what they call spirits that having cross or whatnot. But I do feel that when you talk about what's my intention is always for the greatest healing and for goodness to come. So I feel like that's basically what comes through. I mean, I've never had in all my readings anything negative. I've never had anything that has to do with I have your loved one here and he's surrounded by darkness or like a cloud of, and it's happened to me. Actually, I was actually in a practice with other mediums, and I happened to be with someone that had been a medium for much longer than I have, and I was very, very to be honest with you, shocked, and not in a good way, because he brought forward my dad, and she told me he's in a very dark cloud. Now by this time, of course, I had already had many readings with him coming through with all of the funny things, the serious things, all the everyday memories and life stories. So I felt really, honestly, I didn't even know what to say, because I mean, I wasn't paying for it, but I just thought, wow, what is this all about, that. So yes, I can, and it's helped me very much when I have people that actually ask me, as a medium, can this happen or does this happen? Yes, it happens to those people. And I don't know what the purpose of this lady was, to be honest with you. But I can come from my point of view where that's never happened. I don't know. Those kind of spirits don't come to me. So if there is such a thing, and I respect, everybody has a different way of doing their mediumship. It's just not the way that happens for me.
Well, reading shouldn't be
Yeah.
scary, right?
Mhm.
Because you're bringing their loved ones through. I think too, Michelle, it's that word seance. Because if you say, we're going to do a group reading, everybody's like, ooh, we're going to do a gallery reading. Everybody's in. You say, we're going to do a seance. Oh, no, 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 no. I don't go to those. It's the like
Again, though,
You're
language.
you are
Hollywood,
so right. You're
TV,
so right.
that's what they put out to educate people instead of knowing it means sitting. It doesn't mean anything else. It means to sit.
Yeah.
And I think, again, because people just want to believe what they see and not go forth and do the research.
Yeah.
Well,
I am.
hopefully I'm sorry. I was going to say, hopefully this is educating people, because, when you see the word seance, like you brought up, Maria, and like you said, Keshette, like they think the table's going to shake and all these things are going to come in and woo, you know what I mean? And that's just not what happens at all. I mean, maybe for some people, but that is absolutely not what happens when I hold a seance. Like you said, Liliana, it's very healing. People come through that maybe the sitter didn't expect to talk to. Maybe they didn't have a great relationship in life. And it's just an opportunity to heal energetically with that person. I always tell people, if somebody comes through that you don't want to talk to, maybe give it a chance, because they're usually coming through to say I'm sorry, or to give an explanation, or to make amends. I just have never had anything different. Have you, Keshette? Have you ever had anything other than?
No, I've had a lot of people, same thing as you, a lot of people question and be really hesitant because they don't understand what the interaction is. I've never had anything negative, or someone didn't know, and or even like a dark feeling, like I actually think that there are mediums out there who add extra flair to things to make them seem more in touch or powerful, or make things very dramatic.
Mhm.
And I've had some sitters tell me some stories as well, where they had been to someone else, and someone's dad was in the corner surrounded by darkness, and that medium helped them pull to the other side and find the light. And I just sat there just astonished, sad, disappointed that that's how that medium spent that time with the daughter of the loved one. And when I'm doing a mediumship reading, I will oftentimes have 4 to 6 loved ones step forward, because they're so excited to be there, and they're so excited to share memories shared, such as that time they were fishing, and they sat there till the sun rose. They didn't catch anything, but it didn't matter, and so I really try to educate, especially new people who haven't yet experienced a mediumship reading, that I like to set the intention. Again, it's intention, right? Because I do believe there are some negative intentions, and people want to go that extra mile to do the chicken bones and the blood and the this and the that, and it's the intention, and I think that's what scares people. And so I tend to say, my intention is with love and light, with God's protection, or our creator's protection, or whatever you want to believe in, but the intention is with love and light. And I just want that person to have a great experience and find that peace and closure. So no, I've never had something scary step forward, and I don't feel that I would, because the intention isn't there.
Mhm.
So my question is, ladies, because we're talking about scary, and Halloween, everybody wants a skull. So, Michelle, our skull expert today, like, what do you think about that? Do you notice, like, are more people coming to you for healings? Because you heal with your skulls too.
Yeah. It's so interesting. Even people in the metaphysical community, some of them still have an aversion to skulls, which I understand, because that was my, years and years ago, that was my thought too, because that's the way they've been portrayed. Just like we were talking about Halloween being scary,
Yeah.
skulls have been portrayed as scary. I mean, look, they put them on a poison bottle. Do you know what I mean? That's pretty scary business. And fortunately, though, like with the legend of the crystal skulls, which is a Mayan legend, when the world's people are ready and they're evolved enough to release that fear, and it doesn't have to be everybody all at one time. It's as people become ready individually to release that fear, um, a skull will come into their world, and they'll experience the healing from the crystal skulls. And crystal skulls are amazing to give messages, because they're in the shape of our head, which
No.
there's shape resonance. So it's much easier to communicate with them. Um, And when, again, we were talking about intention, when you hold that intention to learn something new, and when you talk with the skull and ask the skull if it would, like I always ask my skulls, would you like to work with me before I become their caretaker? And if they say no, then it's not the skull for me. But when they say yes, then, I ask them what they would like to do, like how would they like to participate? And they're great to bring ideas forward. Crystal skulls love community. They generally like working together. Mine do anyway. And I've had other crystal skull caretakers, bring their crystal skulls and they work together. They've worked together in harmony so far. And they channel a lot of healing. They have all the downloads from Atlantis, from, different realms. You can just there's so many things you can do with them. So I have noticed more people coming forward. And in that legend, there are 12 crystal skulls that disappeared in Atlantis, and there will be 12 that reassemble, and a 13th one appears in the center to assimilate the information from the other 12. And I believe the 13th one is each of us individually. And when each individual is ready, they become the 13th skull in the center, and the crystal skulls share the information with them.
I'm curious because of Halloween, right? And that being a skull, is there a belief? I don't know. I'm just thinking of this question that it has more energy or the veil is thinner with the skull energy? Or no? I'm
The
curious
the
now.
veil is thinner around Halloween, which is what makes it a great opportunity to communicate with crystal skulls, with spirits. And I think that might be part of the reason that it's been made to seem scary so that we don't do it. Because once you recognize that you're able to communicate and access higher knowledge, and you haven't, like, your loved one is still available to speak with, it takes all that fear and all that pain and it just wipes it out. So I think it's been very strategic to make crystal skulls into the villains and
Mhm.
to make Halloween scary,
Yeah.
to create that. But I feel like it's changing.
Do you find the energy is different for the skulls because everybody's so focused with their intention because it's Halloween, it's decorations. Like, do they vibrate more or no, or it's the same all year long? Because I know somebody out there's thinking this question.
Oh no, that's a great question. They're much more communicative, but again, they can only communicate if you sit down with them and you communicate with them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, everything is heightened spiritually around Halloween. Do you feel that way?
Yeah, I just well, looking on screen, looking at Keshette, she's got her skulls too. But yeah,
I think the veil. So I want to kind of rewind a little bit because I'm still curious about your skull, and then maybe we can go back to the veil, because as you're talking about the skulls, how would you interpret, is the skull a conductor? Is the skull a conductor for guides or ancestors, or is the skull another version of a medium? How would you explain it to someone who's never experienced the crystal skull?
So there are many skulls and many of them do different things. I met the Mitchell Hedges skull in Lilydale, which is a very famous skull. If you're into crystal skulls, you know who that is. Um, it was discovered in South America many, many years ago in a temple. And I met that one this is Mana, my crystal skull. She's 44 pounds. She's very very loving, very earth-oriented. But I took her with me and we met the Mitchell Hedges skull. And as I was sitting in the audience, and this is only my perception, so somebody may have a different perspective, and I honor that. That one felt very electronic to me, and almost like it was a device that beings were looking through and speaking through, but they weren't actually in the skull. I don't know how else to explain it. It just felt like they were elsewhere, and the skull was a conductor or transmitter, I would say, like it was more of a transmission. With my crystal skull, like with mana, it feels like the crystal holds the information, and this crystal is willing to, like, I can access the information that this particular stone holds, and then I can also access the energy of a being that resides here, almost like we reside in a body. Not all of us is in the body, but it feels like that with her. With the Mitchell Hedges skull, it did not feel like there was anything in there. It felt like it was external reading through, and it felt very electronic. Does that answer your question?
Yes, no, I love that. Thank you so much, because I know that just like myself, I'm sure there's a ton of curious people out there who have not been exposed to crystal skulls, or even the concept of what they're used for, or how they're used, or how they hold energy. And so, no, I love that. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
So my skulls, I had this off-puttingness of Halloween for a while. The gravity of which Hollywood and TV puts before us, puts such negative connotation in our minds, creates the fear for us. And I once did decorate my home with a few scary things, bats with blood and hanging pirates that were skeletons. And as I became more in tune with my mediumship and psychic skills, I got rid of that stuff, because I was in such a sensitive place that I was afraid to invite anything that wasn't of a higher power, that wasn't meant for me, because I was still under the impression that that darkness is such a real thing. And so I got rid of all that stuff, and I started decorating my house with a bunch of family-friendly blow-ups that say Happy Halloween and smiles, and I felt really good about that. And much like you mentioned, Michelle, with the shift of your understanding and growth, I was in a home decoration store one day, and I walked by these skulls, and I thought, oh my gosh, they're so pretty. And I wasn't afraid of it. And I really felt like it embodied art and beauty around something that was painted so negative in my mind. So I have a black one here.
Wow.
And I just find her beautiful. And then here's my white ones up here. But I really just I was drawn to him and went, oh, you're so pretty. You're so pretty. And it's almost that whole oh my gosh, I don't know. There's beauty behind things that we mistake for off-puttedness or ugliness, or I'm not really, the word's not really coming to me, but it's perception. Part of it's perception. And I think there was a real shift in my mindset as I was healing my internal self, as I was understanding more about mediumship and psychic work, and I just opened up myself to it. So speaking of skulls, since we're on skull, Liliana, you're from Mexico.
Mhm.
And there's a tradition, Dia de los Muertos,
Yes.
Can you explain that? Because that's a big skull tradition.
Yes, and I do love skulls, and I see it from a different point of view. Where I grew up with skulls, like sugar skulls. I grew up with what we call the Katrina, which is it's a funny kind of whether it's a cartoon or an actual figure of like a skeleton, could be a female or it could be a male, dressed in very in different costumes. We make friends, we can make fun of it, because it's representing us. And so for us, also skulls are sacred. That's part of our tradition, like Michelle was talking about. It's all over. If you go to sites, archaeological sites, you go to pyramids, you're gonna see skulls in many places. We revere our Santa Muerte, or the goddess of the dead, because that's part of our journey. We know that we're going to meet her, all of us. So for us, yes, in Mexico we do have Halloween, where the kids dress up and then they go trick or treat, and all that. But and I have to say, it's more like the commercial way of looking at it. For us, we celebrate really the November 1st and November 2nd. November 1st, we actually we you can say celebrate or honor our little ones, those souls of the children, they have passed. And on the 2nd, of November, we actually celebrate and everybody else, And for us, in our altars, those the displays that you probably everybody have seen, we also have a lot of skulls. We have pictures of our loved ones in the spirit. We have also, pictures of saints, because of the influence of the Spaniards when they came and conquer, Mexico. A lot of that stuff, they had to, had to have it in order to be okay, with them. Otherwise, it's either you do that or you're dead, So we had to acquire a lot of those traditions. So you'll see saints, and you also are gonna find the 4 elements in our altars, which is the fire, which is represented with our candles, and you're gonna see also the marigolds, those very vibrant flowers that they look like fire, and they said they were touched by the sun, to actually help our loved ones cross over. It's light, and the scent will also guide them through. So you have the fire, you have the water element, which we usually put a big jug of, whether it's water or we have some alcohol, that will be also in honor of them. Then you have earth. So we have fruits, they come from the earth, also. And then finally we also have air. The air, if you guys notice that there is where you see the altars, you see these piece of papers that are kind of like worked through, and you see images and stuff. Back in the day we used to have something else that we use, but now we put those papers on top of it so that the air can go through, so we actually incorporate everything in there. You're going to see salt also for the purification. It's a beautiful thing. We see, the way I kind of see it is like trick or treat. You have the trick or treat, like we dress up in scary outfits, to make them go away, so that those souls that are scary are not going to come into our homes. For us, we actually we're welcoming them, because like you were saying, the veil does become thinner, and the goddess actually allows those souls to come and visit with us, so we can feel their loving presence. So for me as a medium, it's a very loving way of seeing what I do, because that's exactly the way I I try to conduct, my mediumship, which is what I do the most, where you actually are welcoming your loved ones for a little time. And so those are the special dates, for us. And it's always in a very revered and loving way. We're not afraid. We offer instead of demanding. We offer. This is for you. And then, after, that, we do that celebration, we can actually enjoy with them the food that we offer them. So, yeah.
I love that. Thank you for mentioning the marigolds, because usually you see those as like a headband flower.
Mhm.
And it explains so much as far as following the scent and crossing over in the sun. And that was so beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. So, Maria, do you have any Portuguese Halloween? No. Okay. So do you ladies want to talk about the veil then?
You know what? So just so I can touch upon the Portuguese, like growing up as a kid, like in Portugal, they don't do Halloween. But when I was doing research for our talk tonight, I found it interesting because, with open borders, you have new immigrants and people are starting to introduce, I guess, in the bigger cities, Halloween. So because of the open borders, right? But as a kid, oh my goodness, we're like hardcore Catholic country, Virgin Mary, pray your rosary. No one's going to have Halloween there or pumpkins or anything like that. But even growing up as a kid, because when we came to Canada, I was so young. I don't know if I was like 4 or 5. We were so poor. So going out for Halloween, I think the first year my parents just thought it's weird. What are these people doing knocking on people's doors? Like, where all these kids come from? And then when they found out, like, oh, you can go out and get free candy, free food, then it's like, okay, because we're all so poor. And then it was so funny with my cousin. You get the pillowcases. I don't know if you see the kids with the pillow, because you don't want the plastic bags, because plastic bags
They
get
rip it.
holes. So you want the pillowcases. And then you would drive to the nicer neighborhoods because you don't want the lollipops. You want the chips and you want the chocolates, right? So I remember doing that. And then we were so poor, we couldn't even afford costumes. But what I do remember about Halloween, and this is in Canada, growing up in Canada, it was just fun. It was a fun celebration to get together with my cousins. We'd all get together at somebody's house. The dads would drive, the women would stay home, make supper. So once we finished trick-or-treating, we would come home. I do know for Canada, the Halloweens have changed, because some Halloweens, they used to be warmer. And then I remember as a kid, we'd have, like, it would snow October 31st. And you'd have your winter coat. And by then we could afford costumes. And do you guys remember like the plastic costumes with the plastic coverings on the faces? I don't think those things exist anymore, but you know what I talk about? That really hard plastic, and it just had like a little hole for your nostrils and your little eyeballs. So we had like those masks with the winter coat. So I remember that. So I remember that being fun as Halloween. We were so poor, so there weren't the pumpkins, there weren't anything like that. But because of how I remember how I felt as a child, now when it's Halloween, it's like I gotta go buy the chocolates. I gotta get the chips. And then I don't know about you guys, but where I used to live, my old neighborhood, we had a dentist. And to all those dentists listening, we don't want toothbrushes on Halloween. So we all the kids to get toothbrushes. And I look and I'm like, we don't want this. But the dentist like, well, you're gonna need it by the end of the night. But yeah, we had that. We love him, but we had that one dentist on our street that gave us the not the chocolate, not the chips, but the toothbrushes. So now I'm curious, do you guys participate on Halloween? Like, do you decorate your houses? Like, I love decorating. I used to do really spooky, and now I'm in the fun vibe, but it's whatever vibe I'm in. I was at Home Depot the other day. I don't know if you guys have like a Home Depot or Home Hardware. And there was Chucky with the knife, and we walked by, and my mom she jumped out of her skin because it started to talk.
They talk now.
And you get the big
there.
giants. I think it's cool. Like, I like going out and looking at this stuff. I think it's very cool. I don't have it just because it's so expensive and it's big. And then you got to store it. Where are you going to store these giants? Because now they have like Costco has like the giant skulls that you can put
Mm.
in your garden with the arm. It's so cool. But it's like then you need to have a second house just to store those Halloween decorations. So I am curious, how do you ladies celebrate Halloween? Do you give out candy? Do you decorate the house? Or you do nothing?
Well,
No,
I'll tell you, you know what, here, you know, and this is, I live in a nice neighborhood. We don't get kids anymore. I do like to decorate, but I'm with Keshette, you know, I used to have really, I mean, some of them are still there and I don't use them because I just feel like there is some kind of an energy there. But I do like to do that. I do like to do a little decoration, cute stuff like that. You know, I do, you know, I think it's traditional, but I also have to say that, you know, I do have, you know, I do make my own little altar, you know, where's my dad, you know, as my sister, you know, and I do that. I actually incorporate also my tradition, you know, and by the way, real quickly, I love that Michelle is bringing up, you know, all about skulls because it's such a big part of our culture and my culture, you know, and we do the little, you know, sugar skulls, which you also can see on your altars, you know, with the name of loved ones or the name of, you know, us who are still here, because eventually we're going to be one of them too. So we, you know, the way I grew up is not really fearing, you know, like seeing skulls, you know, because that's part of like, you know, what we did, you know, so it's never been too scary for me. I mean, I'm sure that there are some that can actually be pretty, you know, gory and stuff, but it's I think it's a beautiful tradition, and I'm so impressed with you being so knowledgeable about that, you know, being that there is a you know, total, you know, different, you know, culture and that, you know, I guess we just get, you know, no matter where we're from, you know, we get directed or guided to where we're supposed to be. So you definitely have a huge, you know, like, you know, connection that I'm sure comes from way before. And I just love that, you know, I have to say.
oh, thank you. I was so excited when Maria said that you were going to be on because I wanted to know more about like the sugar skulls, and because I know it's viewed very differently than in American culture. Like American culture, and I think Keshette will agree with me too, like Hollywood has really dramatized, like with, and what you were talking about, Maria, these big things that are like look like Jason, and these really crazy like weapons and blood and stuff like that. And that is not how I view Halloween at all. I just, and we never have in my house growing up, which was actually this house. My mom decorated for Halloween, but she would stuff a big black garbage bag full of newspapers and make little legs and tie rags together to make a spider web, and it would come from the gutter all the way down to the front, you know, to the front yard, and she put this big spider up there. And we used to have a mannequin that she tied. We had a gas light post out front once upon a time, and she put a mannequin out there and she dressed her up like as a werewolf one year and then as a witch another year, but she wasn't scary. And now I have like pumpkins and fall flowers, and I have a stuffed witch who's really happy, like sitting on my front rocking chair. She's just sweet looking, you know. I don't do I don't do scary. And I think what you said, Liliana, it's just not my belief system. Like I've so much more follow the belief system that you were talking about, like your loved ones being present. And this is a great time to talk with them. And that being said, I love when little kids come around for Halloween, you know, and of course, like Maria, we used to drive. My girlfriends used to come over with their kids. I don't know, the dads just decided to do their own thing, but we'd have like 14 kids at my house, and all of us we'd drive to the really nice neighborhood. So you got the full size candy, and they'd leave like hot cider outside for the parents. We'd walk around and do that. And with the pillowcases, because they held a lot more candy.
True.
And then we'd all come back with all the loot. And like, I have pictures of my family room floor. You couldn't even see the floor. There's so much candy, and that was the candy swap. I'll give you like 2 Tootsie Rolls for that Mounds candy bar. You know what I mean? And then the parents always got to go pick out a couple things of their own. And of course, we had to put the candy away so the kids didn't pig out on it. So they only ate like a little bit at a time. But they don't really, I'm going to say with Liliana's experience too, they don't really come around much anymore. And they've changed it. Now around here, they do something called trunk or treat, where they go to a parking lot and people open their trunks and give candy out of their trunks, which is very disappointing.
Well, that's weird.
I think part of that is because the neighborhoods where the children were once small have now grown up and they're in college, but the families are still in the same house. And so for the children that are now growing up in those neighborhoods in different homes, they try to make a space where everyone can consolidate in one area, because we have both. We do have a trunk or treat, and we celebrate and we pass out candy Halloween night. But I think also for like the littles, walking from door to door is too much. And so the trunk or treat is nice for them, because the parents and kids are out for an hour and then they go home, wash up, and it's, night time. But yeah, but it does kind of suck, because the fun thing is to go door to door and see all the homes,
Yeah.
decorated, and what candy are you gonna get? The trunk or treat seems kind of, but I do understand it for the purpose of the littles, and with the neighborhoods whose kids are now in college or married, or, but I do pass out candy. And it's so interesting hearing you ladies talk. I realize unconsciously or subconsciously, part of the shift of me decorating my home with happy things was I wanted the children, Michelle, like you said, I wanted the children to be able to come and feel safe and not be scared. And over the years, I've had a ton of parents, you're reminding me of this conversation, I've had a ton of parents say to me, "Thank you for making it kid friendly."
Yeah.
My child was so excited to see the happy pumpkin, or it's just so lit up and welcoming. And when the parents come to my door, I have a little treat for them too. So I
Need to go to
pass
her
out
house.
Come in.
so I pass out candy and chocolate for the kids. And for the adults, I have pre-poured shots. So we do liquor shots for the parents.
What's your address? We're all gonna fly in.
Yeah,
We're
we used to
there.
we used to do Jello shots, but that takes so much more time, and you don't really get the advantage of the alcohol. So I was just like, forget it. We're gonna do real shots for the parents, because the parents need a treat too, right?
That is true. I think we do here in our neighborhood is the local high school does a food drive on Halloween night.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, so the kids come out, each of the kids get their designated, I don't know, 10 blocks, like the neighborhood that they have to go to. And they fill up the food drive for Thanksgiving.
Mm, that's
Well, not
Nice.
Thanksgiving, sorry, for Christmas, just to fill it up, because a lot of families struggle after Halloween, and then with Christmas coming up and buying Christmas presents, and with the food costs going up. So they've been doing that every single year. So we'll get a little flyer to let us know that a kid's going to be in our neighborhood. And then it's really cool driving by the school and you see like thousands and thousands of pounds of good food being collected from neighborhoods from, across the city, which is really nice. Yeah.
That's amazing. Giving back.
Nice.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And that's on Halloween. So it's good.
Going back
So
to what, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I have a question. Have you guys noticed, it's a question for everybody. Do you feel that as we talked earlier about how some clients are afraid of mediumship, but do you find that you have more people approaching you around Halloween, like just because it's the spirit of things, total pun intended, to like talk to the spirits? Do you find that they're more open to doing things like that around Halloween time?
I've never noticed.
I
I've
haven't
had
noticed.
I haven't for myself. I have had other medium friends or acquaintances mention that they do see more people around Halloween. I find for myself, once you get to Halloween and Thanksgiving and Christmas, it's hard for some people because of loss of loved ones, that I think some people avoid their emotions and feelings and connecting, and so they tend to kind of like push it away. So I haven't had that.
Mm.
And
I,
you
I haven't either. I mean, not during, Halloween season, but I do get more clients closer to the holidays. I do actually. It's almost like the way I've been told is they feel like it's a visit. It's like their Christmas visit. So I do notice that. Um, yeah, yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. What about you, Maria?
I find around Halloween, because last year I actually signed up to do a Halloween fair because I thought, oh, it's gonna be super busy. I was actually surprised at how dead it was.
Mm,
So this year when I was asked to go back, I was like, no, thank you, because I do realize just from a money standpoint, and when I was doing research, Halloween is the second next to Christmas that we spend the most money on.
mm.
So a
really?
lot of people, yeah. So Christmas number one that consumers spend the most money on, and then the second is Halloween, and then Halloween would be the Halloween costumes, the Halloween parties, the Halloween food. So there's all of those costs right there. So then for readings, I find around Halloween I don't really get anything, but I find at Christmas time because people want to connect to their loved ones, or they're purchasing a reading for a family member or a friend to be used, when they're ready to get a reading. And I find Christmas is when that holiday is more where people want to connect more with spirit. And that's just my experience. I know there are mediums that go out and they do the whole Halloween spooky thing. And I
Mhm.
see the advertisement, I'm like, oh my goodness, don't say that. But some of the stuff, it's like, oh, it's a seance. It's so creepy. And do you have the courage to come and get a reading from us? And we'll bring your loved ones through. But and they play it up. And I think it's a marketing thing, it's a sales thing. Then people go in their Halloween costumes. So then it becomes more of like, oh my God, we're going to go to a party. And yeah, there's a medium, and she's going to do gallery readings. So it becomes more of that. And that's not my vibe. Like that's just not my thing. But yeah, I find it interesting because the one thing I do find about Halloween is you either hate it or you love it. I find that so interesting. And then with decorations, what you guys were talking about, like in my neighborhood, I love going around just looking at decorations. And then we have one city here that does like Halloween stuff and lights with Halloween. So then we'll go to certain homes and it'll end up in the newspapers like, oh, you see all the decorations here. Some are really scary. Others are just, it almost looks like Christmas, except it's only Halloween decorations.
Yeah.
And I love watching how creative people get, whether it's spooky, kid friendly. I just think it's really cool because, like, even with my own background, like, I love art. Like, and then people get scared of tarot cards, right? And I love tarot cards, but then there's that fear. Oh my goodness, the tarot cards, because they're spooky too, right? But just that appreciation for how creative people get when they decorate their homes. Like the spiders, Michelle, I did that with my kids because we were like so poor. I'm like, get out the garbage bags. We had like 20 giant trees on our property, and the kids would be like, okay, we're raking leaves into the garbage bags. There's a decoration.
I love that.
They got
Yes.
very creative. So I find it so interesting how people decorate their homes. But I do remember even my kids when they were little, if you decorate your house scary, the kids are scared. Like they ain't going to.
Yes.
I was not going to push. And I would watch parents like, no, you have to go to this house. And the kids are crying and screaming because somebody's dressed in a costume and all spooky and they have to get through there. It's like, well, you have to go through
Well, and some of the dads, they'll dress like a clown and jump out at the kids.
Oh, I don't
Oh,
like that.
yeah.
That scares me. I don't like clowns. So
Well, that's probably why. You probably don't even remember some clown jumped up at you on a Halloween night.
Mhm.
Wait, do any of you like scary movies? I can't stand scary movies.
I'm scared of scary movies.
I think the world is scary enough that we don't need to add more scary things. And when I say the world is scary enough, I mean that all the disasters that happen, all the unkindness that people do to one another, just all of the negativity that gets surrounded every day, that I don't need contribution to my mind or to my soul or to my heart to watch scary movies. I can't.
So now I'm
Mhm.
wondering, because I used to back in the day be able to watch a scary movie until I became a medium, because I actually became a medium when I was 30 because I had a severe back injury. So my mind kind of went like, oh my God, am I going crazy? Who are all these people? And that because I was very clairvoyant in the beginning, and it was like I would see spirit the way I would see you guys. So
Wow.
after that, then the scary movies felt real to me, and the Ghostbusters, everything felt real, and I couldn't watch it. But until my mind kind of snapped and went into mediums, until then, it didn't bother me. It was just like, it's just a scary movie. Like the blood and gore did not bother me. It didn't even flinch. After I became a medium by accident, literally by accident, then everything started to scare me. And then I just became super sensitive to everything. Have you
Mhm.
guys never liked scary movies, or did it just as you developed your mediumship, then you're like, no?
I never have. I
Oh,
never.
Me
But
neither.
can I say something, Maria? Because I was thinking, how grateful I am that you actually invited me, along with Keshette and Michelle, because hearing about this is really brought back um, the idea that, yes, this is Halloween. It can be very fun, and I do like decorate and all that good stuff. I have a 3-year-old grandbaby that I adore, and it's kind of like all over again. But it also make me feel and think, how can I also, introduce that part of my culture that is so loving, and that invites you to really reconsider um death, or the other side, the spirit world, whatever you want to call it, and not just bring out the negative aspect of it, or the stuff that we're talking about, but also really make a pause and bring that other side, especially us. Everyone here is a medium. We know spirit. We all have a good positive experience with the spirit world, and trying to make sure that in some way I can like plant that seed of not seeing it as a scary thing, as oh, that's like bleh, but also bringing it back to the soul, to spirit, to what really is about. So yeah, I just wanted to make sure that I say that, because it really has made me think about what I bring forward, with in this holiday.
I'm so glad you said that because I made a note. It doesn't have to be spooky. It can be a dedication to your loved one.
Absolutely.
It can be
Yes.
a connection to spirit. It can be a quiet time to connect to your own soul and those that came before you. So I'm so glad that you brought that up. I literally wrote that as a note because so many people are, again, afraid of it. And this, like you said, is bringing forth that opposite connotation, that opposite meaning, that positive, loving, acceptance.
Mhm. Absolutely. And because we're all gonna, that's for sure. What they say, debt and
Yeah.
taxes are like the one thing, right? So if we can actually kind of like make friends, which is what, I feel like, that's what in my culture, we always try to, make sure that we knew that is not a bad thing, that we, is there's going to be, the skull goddess that is going to be waiting for us. It's kind of like, I've read that you could actually even think about it like as Saint Peter, that is the one, waiting right there for those souls that are coming through. So if we can actually kind of look at it in that respect, I think a lot of the, the misinformation and the misconceptions can be, cleared out, right?
Oh, I agree. And that was one of the reasons I reached out to you, because I was like, we need to have a different perspective. And then I reached out to Michelle because it's different perspectives and it's about educating. And I think, like, yeah, Halloween is fun. And then just talking about the history. Well, how did Halloween begin? Because those are, I find when we have the conversations, you break down the fear and then there's nothing to fear. And then we've all had different experiences, right? Like for my parents coming to Canada, we were taught, like, don't talk to strangers. What are you doing? Like, and then on Halloween night, go talk to all the strangers, go knock on their doors, get candy. It's like, it's such a weird concept. And then because we were so poor, it was like, oh, then in my parents and like my aunts and uncles, like, oh, it's free food, it's free candy. So it's also like that. I find it interesting, the intention or how you perceive that holiday, because you could perceive it. Some people go out and do like the clubs and the costumes, they'll decorate their house in the horror thing and they're really into that. And that's perfect. That works for them and that's perfect. And then other people make it more kid friendly, which is what we do because that works for us. So, and it's like you say, it's all intention. But number one, I feel it's education, like having these beautiful women here talking about it and breaking down whatever fear. So now, if people are listening to Michelle, they're no longer scared of crystal skulls. And then
Yay.
listening to Liliana, the fear has gone away and you hear about her culture. And then with Keshette and bringing forward like all those interesting questions and just breaking it down and sharing our experiences, I think is super important. So ladies, like before we go, because I have loved this conversation, is there anything you think we forgot to talk about or you want to mention before we go? Yes.
I want to just say one thing, and it just kind of sums up, Maria, everything that you've said and everything Liliana said. And I think even Liliana said this earlier, and all the things that Keshette was bringing up too. I think the thing that we're missing so much of, that our souls are craving, is the sacredness of the holiday, the sacredness of these sacred objects, the sacredness of giving food to others and helping other people, and like Keshette said, creating a loving space, like an inviting space, and communicating with your neighbors. It really is such an opportunity to come together, and not just with each other in life, but also with spirit, and just to recognize the sacred in all that there is.
Yeah.
I
That was
agree.
beautiful. Would anybody else like to add anything before we close?
I just want to say that I'm so grateful that I got to meet you all. It's been so interesting, and I feel like I've learned a lot of different things. So I'm thank you, Maria. This was awesome. And I'm also really quickly, I would like to say that I'm so thankful that the opportunity to talk about these celebrations in a different way. Where it's more not just loving our ancestors, or those who already crossed, but also our traditions, our planet, because when we talk about, like, for instance, an altar, which we do in different ways in each country, we have something for our loved ones. I know that because I talk to different people that when I'm doing mediumship, there is always, at least a couple of those elements that connect us with our planet, with the earth, So yeah, thank you. It was beautiful. So grateful.
You know what I just realized, because and for those that are listening, because it's all about language, right? And Liliana, when you said altar, and some people maybe think, well, I don't have an altar, or it's just you have to be Mexican to do an altar. But if you take a moment and just think about how many of you have a picture of your loved one out somewhere on a table, on a shelf, well, that would be considered an altar. How many of you have a candle burning, or probably light a candle on their birthday, on the holidays, in remembrance of them? And that's your altar. And I think that connects us around the world, because I don't know how you ladies feel, but I feel like I have pictures. You can't see it on my thing, but here you'll see up there in the corner up there. Those are pictures of my grandparents. I don't know. Could you see that one?
Yes.
All the way up there at the top of the show. I have to bring them down, because right here I got my ghosts for today's episode that I got at the dollar store. But yeah, we all are honoring our loved ones, and I love that you said that, and the elements, and I think it's so beautiful. And Keshette, do you have any last words before we go?
I just feel so honored and privileged to be amongst you ladies and to learn so much today and be exposed to your knowledge and your inner beauty and your outer beauty. It's just been such a privilege to have a nice open dialogue and bring different perspectives and experiences. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. And I just want to let those that are listening to this right now, if you want to learn more about Michelle, there is a podcast about Michelle. So just go on Apple or go on YouTube. And I have interviewed Michelle. I've also interviewed Keshette. So if you want to learn more about her, each of the ladies, a full hour interview. And don't worry, I will be interviewing Liliana. We're going to book a date, and you guys are going to learn even more about her. So thank you so much, ladies, for being a part of the conversation. It was a fun conversation, and I know I learned so much from all of you, and it opened my mind to new perspectives and new ideas, and I love that. So thank you, ladies. Okay, goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.